In the second part of our discussion, we're going to talk about who produces the most trash, and we're going to start with what may be a familiar scene. Does anyone recognize where this photo is from? If you said Bethesda Row, you are correct. And what are some observations? What do you notice about this photo? All right, yeah, there's a trash can front and center, all right? If we make it easy and convenient to throw away trash, which we do like to do, it's easy to think that trash just goes away. But the fact of the matter is, there really is no such thing as away. Just downstream from that last image, you see this image. Does anyone know where this is? Anyone row crew? Okay, this is the Anacostia River. And the Anacostia River is the recipient of our trash here in Bethesda in Maryland. Trash that enters our creek on our campus and floats its way down and reaches the Potomac. So the sad truth is there really is no such thing as a way. Trash just moves out of our sight for the most part in our everyday lives. Americans are really, really good at generating trash. As a matter of fact, we generated 250 million tons of trash in 2010. This is the same volume equivalent as 2.3 million jumbo jets. So this is quite a bit of trash. This brings us to our third trivia question. How many pounds of solid waste per day did the average American produce in 2010? Now let me explain a little bit. You take that 250 million tons of trash and you divide it by the number of Americans to get the average per pound per day. Okay, so you might generate slightly more or less, but on average, and not just like what you do in your own home, but through your consuming habits as well. All right, do you have an answer? Okay, the correct answer is 4.4 pounds of trash. Now, what's so startling about this statistic? That, first of all, I think that's a lot of trash per person per day in one country. What's so startling is that the United States has slightly over 4.5% of the world's population, and yet we produce a third of the world's trash. When we shift our focus to India, okay, India actually produces 27 million tons of trash more than the United States. And this is quite a dilemma for them because they have 1/3 of the land mass. So they don't have the luxury of making their trash go away, okay? It's really upon them because they have a lot less land. Let's take a little bit of a closer look between the two countries. And take a look, you might have suspect this is where we're headed, at the population, all right? There are 4 times as many Indian citizens as there are Americans, all right? 4 times as many. So this leads us to our next trivia question. Americans produce how many times as much trash as a typical Indian citizen in 2010? Get your answer down and then I'm going to explain a little bit more. You got your answer? Great, here we go. Trash per day per person. In the United States, we've already said we produce 4.4 pounds per person in 2010. In India, this is significantly lower, 1.3 pounds. If we look at rounding it to the nearest whole numbers, that's approximately 3 times as much trash for the average American as the average Indian citizen. Okay, so if you said 3 times in your trivia question, you are correct. All right, now in Senegal, it's actually hard to get hard numbers for most African countries for the amount of trash produced. But here's what we do know, all right? We do know that 475,000 tons of trash are put into this landfill right here. This landfill is outside of the capital city of Dakar, all right? And Dakar holds over 50% of the population of Senegal. So if less than 500,000 annually is put into this landfill, then we would assume they produce less than 1 million pounds of trash or tons of trash a year, whereas the United States produces 250. So it's easy to see that in Senegal they produce quite a bit less trash than the United States. We'll take a look at the reasons behind this in just a few minutes. All right? Now, Costa Rica. Costa Rica is known for their biodiversity and their ecotourism and for being a very sustainable country. So how much trash do they produce? Let's take a quick look. Trash per person in Costa Rica is actually 1.5 pounds per day on average. All right, this is slightly higher than the amount that a citizen in India produces, but significantly lower than in the United States. Okay. However, in Costa Rica, even though they produce not as much trash as Americans, they have a significant waste management problem, and most trash is not disposed of properly, okay? And we're going to talk about that in our next section.